This video covers notes 5.2 over slope versus rate of change. There is a foldable associated with these notes that is not in this video. So if you did not go to class or you missed class for some reason, make sure you get with your teacher to make up that foldable. It's pretty quick. Slope measures the steepness of a line, so how steep the line is. It is the rate of y or vertical change to x or horizontal change. So we have all these different ways right here that we can find slope. Also ways that slope can be represented. Change in y over change in x is what this one means, which is the same thing in words here. Rise over run is how we most likely hear it because we look at a lot of graphs. And then this is your slope formula that you can use to find slope. It is on your formula chart. So for problem 1, they asked me to find the slope of each line shown. When I'm finding slope, we talked about this on the notes 5.1. You need to pick 2 dots to find the slope between. So I tend to pick points that are right next to each other because the closer the points are, the less reducing of fractions or dividing you will have to do. So this point to this point, so left to right. When I go, I want you to think about an elevator or a hotel, somewhere that has an elevator. If you used an elevator, you would have to take from this point and go up 1, 2, 3 floors to get to the same floor as your buddy over here. Then you would have to walk 1, 2, 3, 4 rooms once you got on the correct floor. So think about a hotel or even our school. You have to, if you want to get on the second floor and you can't take the stairs, or even if you do take the stairs, you have to go up before you can walk to the room that you want to go. So the slope is going to be the up or down divided by the right. And again, if you will always pick points that are right next to each other and always go left to right this way, then you will always have that same bottom, a nice way to find it. Now this graph is moving up on the graph, so that would be increasing. So problem 2, we're going to do something similar. I'm going to pick 2 points. Doesn't matter which 2 I pick. I just want to pick 2 right next to each other. Now to get from this point to this point, because I got to start at the left point, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I go down 5 floors. Then I'm going to go over 1. Now -5 divided by 1 is the same thing as -5. So you could see it written either way. And this graph is going down, so this one is decreasing as we go down the graph. So part 3 asked me for the slope of the line containing 2 points. Now this is on the back of your foldable. These steps are on the back of your foldable. So if you have your foldable, you would flip over and look at the steps. We're going to plug these into the calculator. So what I'm going to do is take the points -3, -4, and -1, -7 and put it in what's called stat edit. So I'm going to take this and I'm about to switch over to show you my calculator. So this is my calculator. Say hi, calculator. Just kidding. So your steps, again, listed on your foldable, are to click stat, enter. You put your x's in L1. So we have -3, enter, and -1, enter. So my x's go in L1. And then I scroll over to L2, and in L2, I put my y's, -4, enter, and -7, enter. So this table in my calculator looks exactly like the table that I have on my paper. From here, again, these steps are on your foldable. We're going to click stat, scroll to calc, choose option 4, enter, enter, enter until you see this screen. And so my slope is negative 1.5. Now I need to turn that into a fraction, so I'm going to put negative 1.5 and do math, inner. And that is the fraction negative 3/2. So back on my paper, I have negative 1.5, which is negative 3/2. Now problem 4, this one's already in a table for us, so I don't even have to write the table. I can just go straight to stat enter. Now if there's something in there, you can either type over it like I'm going to with my L1s, 2 and 2, or you can scroll all the way up to the list you want and click the clear button and the down arrow, and it will clear that out for you. So it's completely up to you. And then I'm going to put 1 and 5 in my L2s. And I'm going to come back here. This is the stat button that I'm pointing to right here. So I'm going to click stat, scroll to calc, go down to 4, enter. And this one gives me an error. The reason it gives me an error is because if you notice, my x's are exactly the same. So it means my slope is going to be undefined. So this is a special case. When your x's are the same, your slope is undefined. If your y's are the same, your slope will be 0. So if you get that error on your calculator, first make sure you've typed it in correctly. But as long as you've typed everything in correctly, if you keep getting that error, it's going to be undefined. So problem 5, this one, they give me a table again. This one I just have to be careful that my x's go in L1 and my y's go in L2. So I'm going to go back to stat edit. I'm personally a retyper. So I'm going to type negative 2, 0, 2, and 4. And then I'm going to scroll over and replace this with negative 5, 1, 7, and 13. So I'm making that table on my paper look just like this. My x's go in L1, my y's go in L2. Then I'm going to click stat calc 4, enter, and it tells me my slope is 3. And I write it down. So problem 6 asked me for the equation for the table. So I'm still given a table. I'm still going to put x's in L1, y's in L2, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do to get the equation. So back at my stat edit, my x's are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And my y's are 27, 22, 17, 12, and 7. So I'm going to click stat calc 4, enter. And this time I'm going to use both pieces, that A and that B, as well as the equation up above. So I'm going to rewrite it for you since I can't show you both at once. On my calculator, I have this. A is negative 5, B is 27. So what I'm going to do is replace A with the number that A equals, replace B with the number that B equals, and get my full equation. So instead of the letter A, I'm going to put the number they gave me for A. Instead of the number B, the letter B, I'm going to write the number they gave me, which was 27. And so that goes there. Now, when we talk about rate of change, which is written right here, rate of change specifically refers to slope in real-world situations. So instead of just being given a graph, now we're given stuff in context. So we might be given a graph in context or a table in context. Instead of saying X and Y, they tell us what X and Y are. So problem 7, we have a graph below showing the relationship between the number of dollars a worker earns and the number of hours worked. Identify the rate of change for the graph to the right. So we've kind of started this one for you. When you go up, especially with rate of change, you really have to watch your axes to see, usually they don't go up by ones. So this one, to go from point to point, we go up 40 and over 1. So my rate of change would be 40 over, I said 1, but this really goes from 0 to 4. So 40 over 4. Now 40 divided by 4 is 10, so my slope is going to be 10. Now sometimes they might ask you to explain what this means in context, and your context is always y over x because slope is y over x. So it would be $40 or $10 per hour, 10 y's per x. And then down here we just have a quick review. This is a y value, so when y is 40, x is 4. Problem 8, line segment shows the altitude of a landing airplane from the time the wheels are lowered to the time it touches the ground. Identify the rate of change. So this one, if I pick 2 pretty points, I believe I actually used this when I wrote out the notes. I go down 500, not 2 lines, but from 1500 to 1000, I go down 500. Then I go over 4 lines, but it's really from 0 to 60. So negative 500 over 60 is where that came from. One more time. To go from point to point, I go down to the level it needs to be at, which is 500. And then I go over from 0 to 60, so a total of 60 seconds. Now I'm going to put negative 500 divided by 60 into my calculator. It's ugly, so I click math, enter. So my reduced fraction is negative 25 over 3. And that comes from putting this in the calculator. And then another review thing here, they give me a y value of 1250, so that's going to be in between 1500 and 1000. My x value is 30 seconds. Okay, and then number 9 is another calculator one where they give us a table. We can still put it in the calculator, and I'm going to put it in exactly like I see it. So stat, edit. My y's are 6, 12, 18, and 24. And then I don't need this one, so I can just delete it. And then 2,500, 4,000, 5,500, and 7,000. So see, I'm making that table look exactly like my paper. Then I click stat calc 4, enter. And they specifically asked me for the rate of change, so I just needed 250. Okay, and then in context, this means the rate is $250 a month, which is my Y, for every X, which is cars sold. And that would just be a 1 because I don't have a number on the bottom of the fraction.